I just realized my beard like blends into my shirt. Like
It
my
does.
chin sort of
It's like
disappeared.
camo.
Yeah, for sure. I was like,
Does he have a neck?
um,
No,
yeah,
it's
no,
just
just it
camo.
suddenly disappeared in my gaping mouth. Anyways, okay,
Anywho,
rolling.
anywho. Hi,
Hi.
how are you really?
How am I really tired? I'm really tired.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like that's a theme in my life, which we'll talk about. Um, because
yeah,
I mean, we were just talking a moment ago, and I feel like a lot of this is going to turn right on into the one's going to lead to the next, as with
yeah,
all things in life.
yeah.
Go with the flow.
So, speaking of going with the flow, although it wasn't much of a flow, I sprung this new format idea on you yesterday. I had just listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast episode with, and I'm going to totally butch his name up if I don't actually look at it really quick.
Here you are.
Soman Chinani.
Yes.
Um,
Chinani.
Chinani.
Chain.
He's great. I really enjoyed this episode, but Tim introduced a new format with this particular episode where he gave Saman these three categories: 5 things you're excited about, 5 things you've changed your mind about, and 5 absurd things that you do or still do. And then Saman came with all of these colored note cards, perfectly set up. And then it was just kind of random choice of picking and talking about the topics. I thought it was fantastic as I'm working on editing the format for the podcast. I threw this out to you yesterday and you showed up with what we needed. It very much looks like a first grade art and craft project a little bit,
Oh,
because
100%. That's
we didn't,
100%
neither
a
one of
first
us
grade
had
art and craft.
colored postcards or note cards,
No,
but
I
we made it
definitely
work.
had every color of pen, and we had some sticky notes. I even had a purple pen, which I thought I grabbed, and then I wrote it in pink anyway. So the pink is my purple, or
Yes,
the purple is my pink, or however that works out.
yes. And
Um,
I will upload the pictures of this to the show notes. But for the YouTube video, show your 6.
I'm gonna
Ooh.
show mine very collapsed.
Yeah, there they are.
They're all
Okay.
there with sticky note highlighter
Yes.
tabs. Holy smokes! Okay.
Yes. So this is a new format thing. We're trying this. So all of the stuff that we have done before on the wide open aperture, it's not gone. We're doing a little bit of A/B testing here. How fun is
Absolutely.
this?
I think
Experimentation.
this might help keep us maybe a little more on track. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Regulated,
And maybe, yeah,
maybe.
regulated, maybe stop a few awkward pauses. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe not go 3 hours. I don't know. Could be lots of benefits to this. And we could
Or
just
maybe
like
go for
intersperse this
yes.
mixed in with
No,
the other
100%.
stuff. So
100%.
the other thing that was a part of this is when you were writing each one of these, it was writing like a euphemism or something, like funny, catchy catchphrase almost about the thing that you want to talk about. And I don't know that I necessarily conveyed that to you. So I'm sorry.
No, so for the first time in like, I don't know how deep I want to go with this. Our relationship, our family, I don't know. Um, I was the literal one. Um, and I mean, I answered them very literally. You did the job of providing the humor, and I feel like that's a huge role reversal. I feel like literally I always feel like the black sheep. Because I take
Really? I
nothing serious.
do.
I take nothing
What?
seriously, and the rest of you are so like
Regimented. Yeah.
regimented to
There are
do
rules
task
and they need to
lists.
be
Yes,
followed.
yes, and I'm like, woo! Uh, and so it cracked me up that you like blew off the I obviously have read your cards. And I was like, good God, you can't say that on a podcast. Um, and I'm like, no, that's exactly something I would say And then I feel like I'm looking at your cards, which are the ones I wrote.
Yeah.
Very literal, very in the box. But go for it.
But like I said, new format. We're experimenting here. Next time we do this, now you know. And I can't wait to see how you outdo me with the euphemisms, because I felt
Oh,
like
I'm waiting for it.
these were okay in the short amount of time that I had to come up with them. But I feel like you would have come up with a lot better euphemisms for not only my stuff, but probably your stuff too. So the other fun part about this is we're doing dealer's choice. So we're picking each other's cards to talk about. So I don't get to pick the card that I want to talk about or the color or whatever. So let's start with one of yours.
Okay.
And the one that really, really sticks out to me, and this is in the absurd category, the absurd things
Okay.
that we do or still do. Doggo meals.
Doggo meals. So what I do that's absurd, I cook for my dogs. Some nights I cook more for my dogs than I do for myself. Like the actual time spent preparing the meal. I will slap some lunch meat and some cheese on 2 pieces of bread, call it a sandwich, and be out the door. I can do this in under 30 seconds. Um, my dogs, however, need cooking. They need a well balanced diet. It has to be flavorful. It needs to cause them excitement. Um, as I realized this last night that I'm going through the process, so I was lucky enough to come home to a prepared meal for me, which was great. It also opened up my time to then head to the kitchen, and I'm like, oh, we need the topper, and then I want them to have some extra protein, so I'm going to put an egg in there, and then I want that to partially cook a little bit, so I'm going to use really hot water. I'm going to stir that up, and I would realize that I I don't even like rarely do I provide myself that much self care
Right.
as I do nightly, and I am unapologetic about it. Like I will make us late going out the door for the hockey game. Like no, the dogs need their dinner. It's not even fed. Like I don't
It's their
feed the dogs. The dogs
cuisine. It's
need
not
their
even
dinner. Yes,
bed. It's like they need their cuisine before we
a
go.
100%.
Yeah.
I order special ingredients. I don't even
Mm.
order myself special ingredients. If I can't find it at the store, I substitute with whatever's next best, and we're on our way. If I can't find what it is I'm exactly looking for them, stop the train. I am now on the hunt for some weird thing that I want them to try, that I want them to experience for the first
Yes.
time.
They need variety.
Yes, exactly. They've been eating the
Yeah.
same this for too long. Now I need to mix it
Yeah.
up. And and I realize it's absurd. I understand,
Yeah.
like no one else goes to that extreme. Um, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm the crazy people that buy plane tickets for their dogs.
Yeah. I
Like the
mean,
dog is sitting in the seat next to him.
right.
Only
Right.
this is like it's not doggy vacation. This is everyday doggy life.
Yes. They just have to go everywhere we go because they're the children, right? It's like
Yeah.
they are parts of our lives. Two things on
Yes.
this that come up for me. First of all, you know that there are services like the farmer's dog that provide this, where you just have to buy it. It shows up and then you use it. It's like real food. Like they do the whole process, the cuisine.
Oh,
There's a variety. There's all the different things.
yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Um,
But I feel like you
I
elicit joy from creating the cuisine.
When I elicit joy, and two, I mean, it's like cooking with love. Like it,
Okay.
that's like the process, or let's call it the sacrifice,
Yeah.
um, is like my gift, I guess. Like it brings me joy to give them something I created.
Yeah.
Um,
Because maybe their
they,
love language is gifts, you know?
oh, I mean, at least it's food.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like
One,
high value treats. You have to find out what is high value to your dog. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's treats, sometimes it's love. Crosby is very
yeah,
much a love, high value person and with people he
yeah,
likes, you know? Yeah.
yeah.
No, I
So,
get that. I
like,
get that.
and I'm okay with it. So if it comes in any sort of a package, if it shows up in a box in the mail, I just don't
Yeah.
feel like it has the same gift as
Right. Right.
Pouring it in the bowl is not the same as preparing it for them.
I get that. And at one point I did, when the farmer's dog got too expensive for me, I did like, it is very spendy. So I went online and like downloaded all these different like dog food recipes.
See?
So I did the same thing,
Yeah.
I did the same thing. And here I am at the grocery store and I'm like looking for liver, and like the butcher comes down. He's like, can I help you find something? I'm like, I just need like a 4-ounce cutlet of liver. And he's like, 4. And I'm like, for my dog's food. And he's like, oh, you're that person. Okay. I have some chicken livers back here that I pulled out of the chickens that I like basically cut apart into all the pieces. Right, and I was like,
yep.
I'm not really sure that like scraps is what I'm looking for. I was actually looking for more like high quality liver,
human grade.
Yes. Like Wagyu, if there's Wagyu liver, like that's what I'm looking for. I want to make sure the chicken didn't drink or like overdose on acetaminophen, that it wasn't eating other chickens' poop 90% of the time, which is probably unrealistic.
Right.
So yeah, I want the highest quality ingredients. That got to be very time consuming on top of being costly itself. So, kudos to you on that. But I do think that there is something about meals made with love, versus like getting the farmer's dog and you're like, thanks, Stan, for like putting all of this stuff in a blender and then shoving it into a plastic bag and then into a freeze-dried box and sending it to me. But you did put, a little heart Stan on the box so that I knew that Stan prepared these meals
which is lovely.
With love. It's a personal touch, but it's not the same as a father's love.
No, and it's a little selfish too. Like I want them to know it came from me. I don't want that love going to Stan.
Yeah. I think this also relates to
right here.
Because, very many times in our lives, we always question whether our parents actually loved us or not. We're like, do they, or do they not?
I mean, we had meals.
We had meals. I don't know how much love is prepared with those, because it wasn't always stuff we liked. It was like, just take a no thank you bite. Okay.
Or made out of frustration that the Broncos lost.
Yes. Yes. I feel like some sort of seasoning or something was missing. Oh, it was the love was missing in this. Okay. But it was also like mom telling us, well, I drive you to the top of the hill in the morning so that you only have to walk down the hill in waist deep snow to get to school, instead of having to walk up the plowed road and then walk down the waist deep snow to school. And she was like, I do that because I love you. And you're like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was love, but I do now.
So true.
Thanks for sharing.
So true.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I love it.
My turn. We're gonna jump. Let's see, that was purple. We're gonna jump.
The anticipation is fun.
I'm curious because I want to see if it has anything to do with one of mine. Never ever again. Okay, one more time.
So this is in relation to, we both have said at some point in our life, I'm never going to go back into healthcare. And we both ended up back in healthcare.
Back in healthcare.
Yes. And then I remember on my very first day going back into healthcare, going to work at Northwest Hospital, I was playing the Daft Punk song in my truck, blaring it one more time, right? Because in my head, I was telling myself, I'm like, this is the last job.
This is the
one more time. And one more time, we're going to celebrate. Yeah, this is it. One more time. Well, I can't say never ever again. And I can't say one more time again, because I have accepted a new job in ultrasound in a completely different location. I'm moving yet again. And I'm not sharing exactly where that location is because I'm still working for Northwest. And I'm sure this will be released while I'm still working there. Maybe. But I think it's one of those gentle or not so gentle reminders that never ever again never happens. One more time.
One more
never
time
happens.
Always happens.
Or one more time always happens. Yes.
Yeah.
In this sense, but it's, and this probably isn't going to be the last one more time either. I would like to say that this is the last one more time. Because in a positive thing, I feel like I'm going to a place that is far better in so many ways that saying one more time doesn't feel so icky this time.
Fair enough. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm going to steal
Yeah.
this one from you and
Okay.
roll. We're going to toss out my consistency card. So
Okay.
things I'm
Okay.
excited about is consistency. Although I did not take a new job, I took a new shift.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the things that I am looking forward to is I tell myself at least is consistency. Um, and on your one more time, you would think that like so I plan out my consistency. Great. I'm gonna work these days. I'm on days, folks. No more freaking graveyard shifts.
This is huge,
And then
people. Huge.
I got it and then I immediately picked up a 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Extra shift, like immediately.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
would you like the day's position? I said yes, I would absolutely love the day's position. And then a coworker said, hey, would you mind working my shift for me 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.? And I was like, absolutely. Um, which then rolled right back around into the day shift the next day.
Yeah.
Which I say this shift is going to bring me consistency, and then I immediately hijack it with over planning, over booking, um,
Yeah.
which is I always say I'm never going to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
one more time.
Okay. One more time.
Once I get this shift, it's going to free up 4 days a week for me. I am going
Yeah.
to like build some self time in there for myself. Like I'm not going to overbook myself anymore. I am not going to do back to back shifts where I work past midnight and then I have to be there early in the morning. Okay,
First
one more time.
opportunity.
No, one more time. One more time. But then
No
some
more.
consistency. Yeah.
Yes.
Then we're
But
gonna
then
get
no
some
more.
consistency. Nope.
And
Yeah,
I
no more.
even did this when I was talking with you about the new job, knowing that one of the positions that they hadn't filled yet was a night position. And I know that there's the lead tech there. She's kind of been picking up those night positions because the other techs in the department are far older than us. And we've already talked about how hard it is to work the night shift as we get
Yes.
older. I think it might kill these ladies. Okay. They've been around since bee scanners were a thing and pterodactyls were like the pets people had in cages.
Fair enough.
So
Good for them.
when you and I talk, you're like, hey, be on her side, like pick up some of those night shifts. After I was like, I'm never working night shift ever again because it just
Right?
wrecked my sleep schedule and this and that. So when I say one more time, yeah, it might be like, okay, 3 more times to start
Right.
with. It might be 5 more times to start with. But I got my butt handed to me with this concept in the latest book that no, it was actually listening to it in Sam Harris's Waking Up app. And he's like, how many times can you look back on something and say that was the last time I did something? And it totally like happened, but you didn't even realize that it happened. Like the last time I
100,000 times.
skied, which I skied a lot at some point, but I've also lived now in places
Right.
where skiing wasn't an option. So when is the last time and is that truly the last time that I'm going to ski? Probably not. Puts it
Or
into
is it?
perspective a little bit,
For sure.
when you
Yeah,
start
I mean, I
thinking
can
about
get real
this.
mushy with this. And I mean, as a softie and also with the kids, um, when's the last time you sat on your mom's lap? It just
When's the
came and
last
went.
time you
Like
picked your
it,
son up?
right. Yeah, like it happens one day. That
Yeah.
is the last time. And some of them you know, and some of them you don't know. Um,
Some of them you haven't
and
recognized until you start thinking about them.
yeah, and there were definitely, I mean, there sometimes you have the grace or the gift of knowing that something may be the last time. I knew the last time that we talked with Mark, that would be the last time I talked with Mark. I
Mm-hmm.
fully understood. Um, both the in person and the via Zoom. I was
Yeah.
aware this was going to be it.
Yeah.
Um, maybe things went faster, whatever, but I had fully prepared for that to be the last time, which was a great gift to have been
Yeah.
able to have both of those things happen, and with the awareness that this probably was it. And that
Yeah.
the surprise would have been had I gotten another chance.
Yeah. I mean, another one that this is probably stupid that I thought about is like, when's the last day that I smelled puppy breath on Crosby's breath? Now it just
Oh,
stinks, you
there.
know? When was the last time I
Right.
smelled puppy breath?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Like, when does that happen?
Yeah.
Just
Or
one day? Is
one
it a
day it
slow
just stopped, but I didn't
process?
even notice that it stopped because it's just like life
Right.
just keeps rolling forward. And then, now when I'm
And you're like,
sleeping next to
wait,
him and he's
that's
like,
salmon oil.
and it's like whatever, greenies are not doing the complete trick. And it's like, God, I didn't mind that when it was puppy breath, but now it's like, dude, like direct that
Yeah,
another direction.
I get it.
Yeah. Savor moments, people. Think about that.
Absolutely. All
Okay. So
right.
now we've done your
But
consistency,
yeah,
which
I
you
threw
got to
one. Yeah.
kind of pick yourself, but that's okay. We'll let this fly.
You want to roll one into yours then?
Yeah, go ahead and pick another one of
Anything?
mine.
No. What I'm saying is, do you want to pick one of your own so
Oh,
we end up with the same
okay.
amount?
Sure. So if I were to pick one, this one brings me so much joy to share because it was just a moment. So unexpected intra-procedural humor.
Okay.
So last week at work, I had to do a thoracentesis on an outpatient and
Okay. So fluid off the lungs.
fluid off of the lung. Well, so it's in the space in between the lung and the chest wall. There's fluid that
Right.
collects there. So we stick a catheter in there. If we drain it out, it helps people breathe, helps lung re-expand. Typically, these go off without a hook. There is a possible complication sometimes called a pneumothorax, which means that the lung accidentally gets punctured and now it's leaking air out into that space so it cannot fully expand. It's a little bit of an issue. It's rare though. So I get the doctor, and I've never worked with this doctor. And I honestly don't know how to pronounce his name, nor would I say it on this, but he is this very large Black man in surgical scrubs with an English accent, black rimmed glasses. Like, I'm
Mike.
like, where did you come from? Okay. So I go in and I'm like, do you do IR procedures? And he's like, yes, I do. Okay. Well, I've got a thoracentesis on the table ready to go. I'll be there in a minute. So he comes in, first time we've worked together. So I'm trying to learn his flow, learn his, like, what do you want? How do you want to stand? What do you want to do? We get in, starts the procedure, and he's putting the lidocaine in. And in the background, the song is playing. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. And he's basically numbing this lady up. And as he's going to insert the catheter now, he goes, I wonder if that guy ever found out what love is, because he's been talking about this for decades and he still maybe hasn't figured out what love is. And it took me a minute to pick up on it. But then I was like, that's hilarious. And I was like, kind of also makes you wonder if Cher ever started believing in life after love.
You and Brandon both want to know.
And he looks at me
Brandon
and
are
he was
dying
like,
to know.
I've never thought about that. And here's our patient, and she's like cracking up. She's like, I'm trying to hold still, but you guys are so funny. And she's like, these are questions that need to be answered. And she's like, as much as you can enjoy a catheter being stuck in your pleural space, she's
Right.
actually having a good time and enjoying this whole situation. And it made me think that, like, sometimes I probably inappropriately use humor in healthcare because it's
Oh,
awkward or it's a difficult situation, and that like relieves a little bit. It brings levity to some really hard situations. But it really is, to me, the best medicine. Like, it just proved that to me.
there's that. I guess I do this constantly. I am like the class clown in CT with patient. I don't care what you came in for. You're gonna get jokes. Um, it's a dark, nasty environment, and like I mean, radiology in general is literally dark, but then I mean figuratively dark as well. Um, there are so many serious people there.
Yeah.
And I think that can get weighty. Like, oh my word. Even in the worst case scenarios, I probably am a little inappropriately humorous.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Take this scenario, for instance. So
can you smile? Yeah,
I don't know if it was a pneumo or if it was a trapped lung. So apparently by x-ray, there's no way to tell if it's a pneumo versus trapped lung. You have to go to CT, put a chest tube in. If air comes out, you know it's a pneumo. If no air comes out, you know it's a trapped lung. So that's a whole different like thing. So as I'm like trying to like hang out with the patient through this whole process of like, we're trying to, these are next steps. This is what's going on. She's freaked out a little bit. And I'm like, next time this happens, I'll bring the beer if you bring the pizza. And then we can just have a pizza party where we're waiting for this nonsense to get all figured out, because we might as well be having fun. And what's more fun than beer and pizza? And she starts laughing again. And she was like, I love beer and I love pizza. And it was like, it was just like, can we lighten the load a little bit? Because when I did take her over to CT eventually to get her chest tube, she was freaked out. She's scared. It's like, chest tube. I came in to have this fluid drain. Now all of a sudden I'm going in to have a tube put into my chest for 24 hours. I'm being admitted to the hospital. That's a very different outcome than what she expected when she came in. And as I'm dropping her
sure.
off, she's like, am I going to see your face again? And I'm like, probably not. But
So let's high five.
if I do see your face again, I hope it's under better circumstances, because you are a tough broad and you're going to make it through this. You're going to do great, and she's crying and then gives me a hug. And then we fist bumped. I'm like, you got this, girl. Like, you got this. And I left, walked in the hallway, lost my shit. But it was like, those are the moments to me that make the horrendousness of working in healthcare sometimes worth every little bit of it, almost every little bit of it.
No, for sure. I try and celebrate even the little ones. My routine at work is, hi, Miss Kristen. My name is Brian. I'm one of the CT techs here. I'm gonna take you on in and get you scanned. How are you doing today? And I usually go, oh, not so good. How are you? Better than you. Every time.
Yep.
Every time. Usually it gets I either get it, that's the truth, but most of the time I get it, no, you're right. I know I'm right. I know full well I'm right. I'm appreciative,
Yep.
but I mean, I'm being humorous about it, but I'm also appreciative. And it's a nice, gentle reminder to myself. I'm not the one on the stretcher.
Yep. Another good one
so
to use
whatever,
is be like, my day's pretty shitty too, but let's not do comparative suffering, because that never
right,
lets anybody win,
right. No, exactly. If it's some sort of a traumatic injury, I say, have you ever had a CT scan before? And they say, yeah, I have. And I said, oh, so you didn't learn your lesson the first time? um, this is how I'm talking throughout the entire exam. I do want to know on the chest tube and the like, you were talking, and this is literally something I would say to a patient. Are you wondering if it's going to whistle when they stick it in? Because I am. Like, I want to know, does it like squeal like a balloon? Like,
and I honestly,
if it does, I'm gonna lose it, and I need you to know.
I honestly don't know what happens. It was weird because like
either.
I wish I had brought the drawing home, because same doctor who was like, I wonder if he ever did find out what love is. When he was explaining to her what was going to happen, he literally grabbed a Sharpie and a piece of paper and drew it out. And he's like, here's the two lungs. Right. And he drew like a heart in the middle. Like, here's your heart in the middle of them. And he's like, this is what a normal lung looks like. And he's like, and here's like what's going on with yours. And then he drew like, here's where the chest tube comes in. And then it comes down to, and he drew a little suction container. And he's like, and that's going to have to stay there for 24 hours. And I'm just sitting here like looking at him. I'm like, this is patient care. Like, and this, right. And not only that, but it was kind of funny in a sense that he was like, you have to give me some artistic license here. So like sideways lines is fluid and diagonal lines is air. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? She's like, yeah, I got you. Yeah. And then not only that, but when her husband came back, she took that drawing and explained it to him perfectly.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That means it was explained well the first time.
Yes. Loved it. So that is that's
I
the
love that.
story
I
that
think the
relates to
world
them.
needs more humor, even
Yes.
in dark moments. Like I don't. You say inappropriate. I get it. I feel like that's
Oh
other
no,
people's
it
terms
was just
though. For myself,
unexpected because I
right?
did not know this guy and I did not expect him to be like in the middle of sticking to Catherine. So he's like, be like, I wonder if he ever found out what love is, you know? Um,
Yeah. No, the world needs more happiness, joy, and humor in it
yes,
than it does
yes.
dark, dank moments.
So
All
kudos to
right, you
that
next
doctor.
pick.
Okay, I'm gonna pick the next one for you. I have a feeling I know what this is related to, but I'm gonna go with collecting.
Oh, okay.
All
I mean, you do
right.
know what it's related to.
Yeah.
So
Dad.
we also okay. So collecting. For anybody who doesn't know, I spent the last week sorting through our stepdad's life, namely his collections, of which there were many. Um, I've been trying to like paint a good picture without being like disrespectful or it. We're not talking dirty hoarder, but we're talking hoarder. It was a very organized, clean hoard.
Yes.
And I don't think there's really any other way to discuss 30 pillows. Um,
Yeah,
other
it's
than hoarding.
weird. It's weird. Blankets was another one.
Yep.
Towels. Like
Towels, blanket,
all
linens in
these.
general.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you needed a whole
Um,
room just to fit all the linens,
yeah, and not dirty, gross
sheets,
stuff.
and
Yeah, sheets taken care of, washed,
yeah.
folded, put away
Yeah.
by color, but like very well organized, but still super hoardy. Um,
Yeah.
so what have I changed my mind on? I have a beer room. We know
Uh-huh.
this. The other half has a Star Wars room. Um, there's some things the dogs are killing each other. If this is picking it up, I apologize. Hey, stop. Go lay down. You're killing me. Lay down.
This was one of the things that I thought about putting on my things I've changed my mind about is having dogs after I sent you the picture of Crosby escaping from his kennel by chewing a hole in the side of it.
Oh, no,
Like
for
straight up
sure.
Alcatraz style. Like he had to have been working on that for months.
I love mine. No, right? Like the plan finally got put into place.
Yeah.
I love the dogs. Mine is having just had to go through the whole boarding kennel thing in order to take a 5 day trip to Colorado, which was not fun. And
Right.
I come back and have to pay this enormous fee to have not had fun. And
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, like I love them to the end of the world, but when they're gone, maybe we're done.
Yeah.
And I was like, one more time.
Yeah.
Um, so on the collecting thing though, so my thing was not so much don't collect.
Mhm.
If it brought him joy, I'm more than I like it. Great. I'm glad it brought him joy. My thing with it is having to sort through it. I can infer my own opinions of why he did it. I can make small guesses by maybe things he said throughout our life. And then there's the mystery of it.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't understand why one guy needed 30 pillows. Um, and I never asked.
Yeah.
And
So to shed
so,
some light, this may shed some light on maybe some of the items that were in excess. So when he bought that condo, it was like a turnkey. So the only thing that the people
sure,
who owned it took with them when they left was the couch. Everything else stayed. The towels, the blankets, the pillows, the linens, the sheets,
for
the
sure.
all of this stuff. So he literally walked into this condo ready to live in, still had all of
Right.
his stuff that was sitting in a storage unit in Fort Collins that took literally years to like work that whole process in.
Right.
So maybe he had 8 to 10 pillows. And I'm going to say that's kind of normal if you have a 2-bedroom house. You're figuring 4 pillows per bed, maybe some 2 spare for somebody who sleeps on the couch. Okay. 10 pillows,
Okay.
2-bedroom house. So when you say 30 pillows, it was a 3-bedroom house. So there's, 4 times 3 is now 12.
Okay.
So you take his 10 and they're 12 and there's 22. And maybe they
Okay.
had some extra pillows in there that he just never
Okay.
threw away.
Okay. But that's the collecting.
Yes. Yeah. It's also
Why
the
would you, of all the things,
I know.
if we're gonna
I
go with that,
know.
why would you keep
Because
someone
none of them are
else's
comfortable.
pillow?
None of them are comfortable.
No,
I brought my own
no.
pillows from Washington because I'm like, none of those pillows are comfortable. I'm bringing my
I
own
have a hard
pillows.
time sleeping on your pillows.
I know.
They're your pillows.
They are. They work for me.
Which is maybe my crazy on my side, but
Yeah. There's that thumbs up thing happening again. I don't know what that is, but whatever. It happened on my side of the screen. So point for Kristen.
it literally does it. I'm dying to know. It just literally came flying out of your head like an idea. And I was like, oh, you totally agree with me? How'd you do that?
I don't
hope
know.
it caught it on the video because it's beautiful from my side.
I don't know how to make it
like
happen.
Bubble. I was like, yes, sister, yes.
Yep. I can't get it to do it. And it's just random.
Okay.
Which makes it even better.
I'm gonna have to. No, I'm googling this afternoon. We're figuring out how to trigger the thumbs up warning
on Zoom.
On Zoom. Okay.
Still 1 point for me.
1 point?
Maybe for all the math I just did.
Right. Is Zoom reading like ASL? Are we secretly signing? And we didn't even know it. That'd be badass.
This just scares me with AI though. They're listening.
You opened up the door. Sorry, I have to jump in. Boy, I hope I'm not like scaring people with this kind of stuff though. So we send all of our stroke scans to like faster than lightning to a program called Rapid AI.
It's
happening. I'm not fully done, and it still has to be reviewed by a doctor, but it's pretty damn accurate. It spits back an initial diagnosis. Like, we're talking real time. I hit send and it pops up on the stroke coordinator's phone. And it'll say, looks like M1 infarct.
This is super scary. Like,
and I'm like,
I think there's a benefit to this, but oh my God, I think that this is so scary.
So I'm busy scrolling and I'm like, right there, it looks a little bit. And she goes, yeah, it's an M1 infarct. And I'm thinking at the time, and this is also scary, I'm thinking, wow, she's so smart. Because I don't know. So this is in post conversation after the scan's done, patient's off the table, they're on their way to the IR lab. And I'm like, where'd you learn? You're like a doctor. And she's like, no, it's Rapid AI. And I'm like, what's Rapid AI? And so she shows me, she's like, next time we do a stroke together, I'll show you like how fast it is. And I was like, okay. And I mean, so certain sets of our images just dump into this AI program and boom, like I am not done scanning the rest of the series. And those images are on the phone. She's like, oh yeah, it's a this. Oh yeah, it's a that. Oh,
I
looks like there's blood on the left hemisphere in the blah, blah, blah region.
I just got chills because I think that's fantastic if the diagnosis is right and it's faster than a rad reading it. Like that was way faster than a rad would ever read it. How did, let's just give her a name, how did Susan learn to read CT scans for stroke? Like who taught Susan to do that?
She didn't.
The AI.
She didn't. Oh, Susan the AI.
Yeah, okay. Susan the we're calling AI. Susan is the AI. How did Susan learn to read? Yes.
I think this is just, I mean, this is going to be on a data set. Like what data set got loaded into Rapid AI for it to learn on. And so I'm assuming these are just radiologist read, confirmed
intraoperatively or something.
Yeah, like, or just post scan. We've gone back through and compiled 17 years worth of code stroke exams with the final diagnosis, and it has learned to that, lack of
Mm.
contrast flow in this area means that's this type of a stroke.
This is terrifying for our jobs, because if AI can
No, not my
read,
job. Someone still has to push that button.
why couldn't AI push that button?
I mean, there's
They
still the
talk about this in
physicality of my job.
ultrasound. They talk about this in ultrasound, about putting people in and AI controlling the, I don't want to say wand, but that's what everybody calls it. So to make it, like visualization here, the wand that we use, it's called a transducer, people, if you want to start using the smart term. It's a transducer, not a wand.
She
It's
uses a
not magic.
transducer. I
It
stick
is
you
not
through
magic.
a donut.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, when people ask me, they're like, which one's CT? I'm like, the one where you go through the big donut. And it doesn't make all the loud noises like the clink, 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 boom, 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 boom. That's MRI. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's the claustrophobic one. You got it. CT, not claustrophobic. You just go into the donut, you come out of the donut, and they know exactly what's wrong with you.
Amen.
So the wand or the transducer, but like the AI running the wand, because they already have this automated for breast ultrasound, that it goes down and scans the breast, and then a breast radiologist reads that. So I'm like, okay, like AI could push the button. AI could do the ultrasound. AI could do the MRI. There's still, in a sense, I think, just like there has to be rad oversight in a read, there has to be technologist oversight in a scan.
Oh no, someone's got to sit there and watch I just don't think that we have all the variables covered for yet. I mean, so I could just tell you 1,000 ways a scan can go wrong. And yes, we will eventually be able to program that all in. Not in my lifetime. It won't happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Because there's just too many things to detect. Movement, like it can detect movement on the scan. I can detect it with my eyes.
Right.
I can see a problem coming down the pipeline. So could they make it so that it catches any motion whatsoever? Yes, but it can't be so sensitive that them wiggling their toes out on the table.
Yeah.
So I mean, one of the things is like there's little common hints. I know when the contrast is hitting people because they start like paddling their feet because they're a little uncomfortable from the heat sensation from the contrast. I mean, I can call
Makes you feel like you have to pee your pants.
I can get someone to settle down by just reaffirming for them that that's the contrast feeling that's coming. I can tell by sitting there in the window looking at their toes going. Here we start with the paddle feet, and I'm like, that's just the contrast. And the feet stop, and I'm like, yeah, that's what that was. There's, I mean, not to be super gross, but there's little key warnings when someone's going to throw up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an innate sense of, oh, wait, we are like, we stopped breathing and we are like tightening our tummy muscles. Here it comes.
Hand over the mouth.
Like hand over the mouth. Here's a good, like, how is AI going to know? Hand over the mouth versus hand itching the nose.
Yeah. I kind of feel like anytime the hand goes up in any sense of like blockage, yeah, they're probably about to puke.
But you've never itched so bad as when someone told you to sit still.
Yeah.
Like it happens almost every exam. I say, okay, that's where I want you. Don't move. I just told you don't move. Just told you.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, settling in like this is a meditation session.
No,
no.
Damn it.
Like, let me straighten my spine here so that I can really like
align my chakras for the energy.
Yes, I'm taking in this energy. Yeah. I mean,
so
and
it's the
same thing with like ultrasound. You don't always get the patient that when you say take a deep breath and hold, sometimes they literally can't take a deep breath and hold, and that limits what I can see because everything is tucked up underneath those ribs. I can get intercostal shots and that's about it, but you still have rib shadows going through everything. So it's like, here's the best we can get. I don't know that AI going into scan is going to be able to get those things that I can't get as a scanner.
Right.
But it's still a little bit
There's
terrifying.
Also a cost preventative thing as well. So I mean, we've talked at length about my hospital can't even get current equipment, let
Yeah, how do they
alone
have AI?
software program versus, I mean, if you were going to do a scanner that was self-automated, one, I don't think it exists yet.
Right.
But two, you won't even update your scanner, let alone go futuristic on
Go
your scanner.
AI.
Buy a software program, that sounds right up your alley. But, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, as much as I complain about my department kind of thing, this may be an insight. Currently, we only do this on strokes. This is not
Mhm.
happening on your like lower belly pain. It is, and strokes are very specific. So you're
Yeah.
looking at a roadmap of vessels, which is much easier to follow than
Yeah.
subtle signs and symptoms.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
The stigmata.
and
It's
so,
easier than the stigmata.
right. So that said, I mean, I think it is coming down the pipeline. I would love to get to a point where AI replaces all of us in our work and we're allowed to focus our entire lives on joy, creativity, and spending time with each other. That little utopia, I don't know if that
Yeah.
exists,
Yeah.
but
Not sure what that looks like yet. Because,
um,
somehow that has to feed into capital. Like, that's a whole bigger discussion. How does
yeah,
that
no, for sure.
feed into capitalism? How does mama pay the bills if AI is doing my shit for me? Um, yeah, like that's a
Because
whole
AI is earning
paradigm
you good
shift,
money.
right?
What if we were each just assigned an AI and that AI made our money for
Oh
us?
God, that'd be so like I've always said this. I'm like, if I just had one double, I could do so much more with this life. Like I could do so much more with this life.
I mean, it costs AI nothing to recreate an AI.
And when my first AI decides that they need help, they could just create another AI and
Save,
train her.
yes, yes, train her
Meanwhile, I'm off
instantly,
gallivanting the world, enjoying my
instantly
best
train.
life.
Yes, you're just finding your
They don't
joy.
need to be
That's it.
fed, watered. Just, yeah, do your thing, AIs. K1, K2, K3.
Right?
Okay, so this comes back to collecting. Was this collecting that we were talking about?
Yeah, this
See,
was
this is
collecting.
okay. This is where we
Just even with structure, we can find a rabbit hole. There we go.
okay. So
Um,
yeah, so collecting all the things at Dad's. Yeah,
So, I mean, this is my takeaway from it that I've changed my mind about. I used to think it's super important, like that's a passion, and the part I've changed my mind about is that it's not just important for me to find joy in it. It is important. This is the change. It's important to express to those around you what joy that brings you. You need to like let them know what those things meant to you or mean to you,
mhm.
while there's time for them to maybe appreciate them or time for you to have the big boy discussions of, okay, but they're not important to me, what would you like me to do with them? When do you want me to donate them? Do you want me to
Yeah.
keep them? Do you want me to take on your collections as my collections, even though they don't bring me joy? It was really hard to go through someone's stuff, knowing that some of it was very important to him, but it was things I don't care about at all.
Right.
I just
And
don't.
I
I
think there
don't
were
have.
things there that he cared about that we don't know why he cared about
Right,
them. You know?
right. Yep. Oh, there's a thousand things there
Yeah.
that I know that he very
But I'm like,
purposefully saved, and I'm like, I don't know what that is.
yeah.
I there were boxes of I don't know what that is. What is the significance of this? Um,
Hmm.
it's just a thing. It was it a pretty
Yeah.
thing to you? Was it a useful thing to you? I'm not sure where
Yeah.
this falls in the dead middle of, huh?
Like I
Uh,
still remember, so like down in the living room is it's kind of like this weird like dresser looking thing, and then it's got a detachable top that comes off that's got like
yes, the
squares
buffet.
that
Yeah. Yep.
like that you put letters in, and then it opens
Right.
up into a cabinet on top, and you had all the CDs in there. So he originally bought that, and the idea was that was going to be the storage stuff for all of his fly tying product. So he was going to be able to organize it into drawers, and then like the slider things could be where he could put the different flies once he'd attached them to like the whatever that paper was that he attached them to, but organize them by type of fly. I mean, like he had this whole plan for it that just never came to fruition.
Right.
But still, like to the day, like when I first got him from Denver, took him back home, and that was in the living room, we were talking about it, and he's like, I just never got around to actually like doing that with that. And he's like, but God, what a great find. It was such a great find. Like it works so perfectly for being a fly tying like storage unit next to my fly tying deck. Like he had this whole vision in his head. It just never really came to fruition. But that piece of furniture, man, that made him so happy that he found that, but he found the perfect thing for storing all this fly stuff.
Right. And then none of us are fly tires.
Right.
And so now there's this ginormous piece of furniture.
That's so heavy. So heavy.
So heavy.
3 adults to move it.
and none of us tie flies. And so then it becomes literally just a piece of furniture. Yeah. So is it useful to you? Is it useful to you? Is it useful to you? No. Nope, sure isn't. Like in the thought of ever having to move that, and we all know I move too much, as do you, to lug that thing around. And so then you're stuck in this moment. Do you get rid of something that meant so much to him, or do you hang on to it and burden yourself? And so I will have a new, I've changed my mind about collecting. I plan on having the conversations with mostly Brandon over, do you have any interest in this? Like, should I start getting rid of this before that time? Like, should I, as I run across other avid beer collectors, should I be pitching some of this stuff off on them? Or should I plan on leaving you the estate, and you knowing this is what you're signing on for? You're signing on to an entire room full of beer memorabilia.
Right. Same with the Star Wars, probably.
Right. Yep. And having those conversations now so that Brandon's not stuck someday wondering where that pounder glass came from. Was it just another place we went? Was it a gift from somebody? Like there's some in my collection are precious. That really mean stuff to me. Absolutely. There's some very specific ones that I'd like at least like him to know about. And then if he's like, yep, looks like another glass to me, that's okay. I'll hang on to that one till the day I die, and it will bring me joy. And then you have my full permission to give it to someone else who might appreciate it, or but I'd like to give him that freedom, that release, the permission to not be burdened with the thought of, am I getting rid of something important? And so I reevaluated my collecting.
I love
my
it.
Turn.
I love it. And I don't feel like, I mean, this is weird. Like I was just thinking about this and I'm like, I don't feel like I collect. Like there's nothing, and this is a result of moving so much and having to purge every time I move, but I'm like, I really don't collect anything. So, I mean, you guys are going to have a really easy time. Like,
no, you're pretty minimalist for sure.
Yeah.
You are pretty minimalist for sure.
Everything kind of serves a purpose.
Even if it's not collecting. So I'm just going to pick something straight from the back. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Just like the things you have collected then will freak me out. So Buddha. I see Buddha.
Yeah.
Hey, Buddha. What's up, bro? Buddha. I don't know the story of that. And that's okay. Like we don't need to go through it now. Was it a find at World Market? Does it really mean something for you? Does it serve a usefulness of you, like reminding you to, I'm not positive. So the collecting doesn't have to be a collection. It just has to be collecting things, the things that we're going to stick with us.
Yes.
But if
Versus
suddenly the rapture
the
happened and you disappeared,
the Ram Dass sign that says we are all just walking each other home. That's
we've
clear as a
discussed.
bell to
Yep,
you what that
we've
meant to
discussed
me.
immediately. I know exactly what that is.
Right.
So, and the things like, I guess I just, and it's not that I have to have the discussion about every single thing that I own, but I need to have that discussion about the important things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can assume that anything we didn't discuss is free to go.
Right.
But I'm viewing it in a new way of, um, so I, if you've ever been to my house, which none of you have, I've
So
got,
weird that all of our listeners haven't been to your house.
right, 50 house plants.
Right. That may be the only
In the
collection I've got.
in the living room, and I'm gonna say of the 50, I love you all, just because I know you can hear me. Of the 50, exactly. Of the 50, I would say 5 have extra special connection.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so some I'm collecting, and some were given as gifts, and but like there's the point where I just would like to let Brandon know this the ones on the blue shelf stay forever. Like
Yeah.
you either have to return
You
them to the
have to make
wild,
them live.
yeah, or find someone who will. The rest of them can go down to the
Right.
local plant shop.
And I think again, like I think when it comes to my plants, my special guys, there's like the jade that Jim propagated and was literally this
Ah,
big when Jim
right,
propagated it, and it is now like this big, this wide.
right,
That to me is, but it's also symbolism between our relationship. Like I was given this
right,
thing from you guys and I've made that grow.
right.
Carl, my cactus,
Carl the cactus.
because Carl was the first cactus I ever had. And he's just like,
Carl.
he's proliferating like crazy. And then the Amazon prayer plant.
Right.
Because that one was like so far outside of my comfort zone of plants to make that thing survive. And I have done it. And I came home last night from doing volunteer, and Crosby had chewed one whole stalk of stuff like leaves and gotten into it. And I fucking unleashed. I did not hit my dog, but I made it well known that he was not sleeping in bed tonight. This was a misdemeanor. Almost
Relegated to the floor.
Yes. You sleep on the floor, sir. You do not get to be comfortable whatsoever because you killed 1/3 of my precious prayer plant.
Noted.
I feel much better now
Um,
that I've talked about that.
good. Good.
Yeah.
Let out a little bit of the anger.
Yeah. Yeah.
My turn. Put that on a
Okay.
3x5.
Okay. So when I was in ultrasound school, my program director, Jan Blend, shout out Jan,
What
best
up, Jan?
ultrasound program ever. I really, to this day, I look back and I'm like, God, that was such a good like, I really feel like I walked out of that program a better person, but knowing, like, at least somewhat knowing my shit, right? It was like, I was well prepared for real life. Whew, Jan's quirky. But every time you would ask her a question or ask her to do something, or what about this? She would always reply to us, put it on a 3x5. And then we'd give her the 3x5. And it drove all of us fucking crazy. Like it was an inside joke, like between us. When you'd ask somebody something like, I don't know, put that on a 3x5. I am now reinstating, put that on a 3x5.
Not 3x5.
For several reasons. To-dos. You can just put it on a 3x5, file it in, is this high importance, medium importance, low importance? It's written down. You're not going to forget about it. It's in the to-do list on a 3x5. It's official.
Okay.
Ideas that you have where you're like, oh, someday I want to do this thing, or I want to do this at some point in my life, or here's a place that I want to visit. Put it on a 3x5, file it away.
A real life application for this in my own house.
Requests from other people. I can't do that right now, but put it on a 3x5. And when I have the space to do it, I'll circle back to that request and let you know if I can handle it.
Oh, I like this.
Okay. Projects, whether this be home projects, whether this be personal projects, that are, this is like past to do. These are things that are going to take a lengthy amount of time to accomplish. Put it on a 3x5. And when I'm like, oh yeah, I've got some extra space in my life, let me go back to my project 3x5s and see if there's a project that I can take on at this point in time. I still have not done my terrarium. That would be a
Okay.
project. I would put on a 3x5 and file that away in my projects. But it's written down, so you're not forgetting it. It's
Right.
there. You're also not trying to take on all the things at one time.
Right.
Put it on a three
I
by
see
five.
this, like, I can see so many different uses for this, like, even as a boredom killer. So, like, throwing them into a basket, and then, you're like, oh, there's nothing to do, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
there's nothing on
that's
TV.
a great idea.
We should go through the 3x5 pile and,
Yeah.
like, what? It just as a way to, like, remind yourself of, like, oh, yeah, we had talked about doing that later, or, oh, yeah, we had talked about watching that movie. But I love the idea of sending each other three by
Yeah.
fives occasionally. Um,
Yes.
and putting that, I feel like I need a 3 compartment 3x5, like the now later never pile.
So they make these,
um,
boxes that like clip together. And hat tip to Ryan Holiday for this idea. This is how he writes his books. Is he actually uses 5x8 note cards, and as he goes through books, the stuff that he underlines or like that really stick out to him, when he finishes the book, he goes back and he writes down all the stuff he underlined on a 5x8, files it away under like what genre or thing that it might fit into. But they also make 3x5 boxes. And then you just get
yep,
index card dividers where it's like
right,
requests from other people, to dos. So you can like label it whatever. And then you just put it on 3x5, stick it in that thing if it's not something that you're like right now. And then when you have time, you can either go and shuffle through and be like, randomly pick from the box. Or I love the idea of like things that you've wanted to do, and especially if they're like short things, like just a
right.
space filler for when you have some time and space and it's like, what do we do right now? Like have even like them folded up into little things and you just pick one out of the jar and you're like, okay, we're going to do it. Like I love the spontaneity of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try and institute this. It's so hard. Like, I need some space, people. I need some space. 750 square feet is not enough.
We're
Um,
talking physical space.
yeah, that's a cool
Yes.
space. I need some. Anywho,
Okay.
there's your turn.
Turning 50.
Oh, um, I am super excited about turning 50. So I'm
Ooh.
planning a trip. And if anybody has done this, please reach out. I have a billion questions, not that there aren't a billion forums to answer it, but the year I turn 50, Brandon turns 30.
Ooh, dirty
So
30.
we are going to take this is your notice, by the way.
Oh, okay.
The only part of this that is solidly planned is the selfish part, and then I will tell you what the rest is, and this is your invite.
Okay, let me write
Um,
this down.
okay,
Selfish part. Go.
selfish part. So because it's his 30th, my 50th kind of milestone birthdays, we are going to fly to the UK and
Okay.
walk the West Highland Way together. So having walked the Camino,
Mm-hmm.
um, I maybe that was too far. I don't know. Now I wish I could do it again. But I would love to give Brandon a little taste of that experience. Um, and so the West Highland Way is a well-established 100-mile route from Glasgow to the coast of Scotland. Um, and
Okay.
so it's about 8 days, and we are going to father-son hike the West Highland Way.
Now, is this only
Courtesy,
father son?
yep,
Like you
this is
guys are
only
doing this
father-son.
solo. Okay.
Yep, this is the
Like
bonding
we're
selfish part of the.
uninvited.
Yes, you are uninvited.
Okay.
Everyone is uninvited, not just you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
this is a me and him thing as we maybe turn corners into new parts of our life. 50 is
Mm-hmm.
starting to get up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And
30
30
is
is
a
time
big
to
30
right.
is a big thing.
Yeah.
You don't
So,
realize it until you pass your 30, but then you look back and you're
right.
like, fuck, 30 was big.
Right. And we've done that. So I'd like to give them the heads up that this 100-mile walk kind of starts the next part of things to do. Okay. So
trip.
part two.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So part two of the trip is
I'd like to
going
start calling this the epic adventure.
the epic adventure. We
Okay.
can start calling it the epic adventure.
Okay.
Is we will then take a train back to Glasgow and fly to London.
Okay.
So the current plan is very loose, but we're looking on like a 3-day London, 4-day Paris split.
Okay.
So again, a little selfish part, like we will have already spent over a week in the UK, and we all know that I like to divert my attention 1,000 different directions. So 3 days in London, the knockout London, I feel like is we can do the major tourist things.
Yeah.
The kids want to go to the kids. I referred to Brandon, Megan, and Jim as the kids. Want to go to Disney Paris.
Okay. Want to go to what in Paris?
Disney.
There's a see. I didn't even know that there was a Disney in Paris. Oh.
Yeah, they want to go to Disney Paris.
Okay.
I want to go to the Louvre. Mom wants to see the Eiffel Tower.
Okay. Can we all split up and go 3 different directions? They go to Disney, we go to the Louvre, and Mom goes to the Eiffel Tower.
No, we're gonna suffer together. We're going to suffer together. That's what families do. They make each other uncomfortable and suffer together.
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay.
Who raised you?
I just want to state from this moment, like, people, you are hearing me. I am not a Disney supporter for several reasons, but I will do this for the sake of apparently my nephew.
Nephew, his girlfriend, and your brother-in-law, who just their inner child is screaming.
Probably
whatever.
Because they watch Disney movies.
It's not my jam. Not my jam at all. But like I said, I would like to go to the Louvre. That also doubles up with Jim. And so I'm like, oh, there we go. Like we're cross. And I mean, I don't have a burning desire to see the Eiffel Tower, but while in Paris,
I mean, it's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah, kind of gotta. And then I'm like, oh, but if that brings Mom joy, great. So I feel like those are 3 very different days.
Now I want you to know I do have a contact
before
in
people
Paris.
Are like the Louvre. Before people are like, you can see the Eiffel Tower and go to the Louvre in the same day.
Yeah.
You just don't know what our mother is like.
Yeah.
So it won't just be see the Eiffel Tower. It'll be the Eiffel Tower experience.
Yes.
The
whole
which is
thing.
Great, because then you feel like you have really seen the Eiffel Tower.
It's 100 pictures of the Eiffel Tower.
And a meal near there, and probably 1 to 7 glasses of wine. That's not even counting the getting ready, the worrying about transportation, the 17 stops.
I hope I've manifested my man by this point.
Okay. Oh, that would be great. We can punish a new one. I don't mean a new man. I just mean a new person. I would love for some stranger danger.
We've known each other 6 months, and here's the trip. We're going.
Yes, 100%. You can start leading first dates with that. How do you feel about Paris?
Boy.
So
yeah.
And I think there's a possibility that Jeannie would join us at some point or another. I think she's killed Paris. I think she's killed London, actually. And so there's wiggle room around this.
Okay.
Because if she's going to be anywhere near there, we may just meet up for a day, kind of thing. But that's the big plan at the moment. Is the 2 boys are going to go ahead and do the West Highland Way, and then we're all going to meet back in London and spend 7-8 days, something like that. Oh, and the whole thing that everyone I think wants to do, that I've talked to so far, is ride the tunnel.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little freaky to me.
Bucket list, just check. Yep, exactly. Check.
As long as somebody brings Xanax or Ativan, I'm good.
Right. No, 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 no booze either.
No
For the tunnel
booze.
ride.
I'm okay. I am
Yep.
okay doing no booze, but
No,
there's got to be an out of banners. Like you're
no.
underwater. What if it crashes? I
That's the
know that
point.
I
Is
am
the
the
fear
worst
and
case scenario
exhilaration.
person. I will not have
The fear and
fun.
exhilaration. The fear and exhilaration. It's not supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a bucket list.
Okay. Well, we have
Not all
time
bucket lists are
we
fun.
have time to discuss this.
Okay, we
We
do.
have time. We
But
have time.
we are unadulterated. Taking the tunnel.
So that
Discussion
being
ended.
said, through the
Yep.
pod, I have friends in both London and friends in Paris. So
fantastic.
I'm also happy to reach out to them for like what would bring in the true London experience or what would bring in the true Paris experience. I'm also like happy to have them meet up with us.
Oh, I would love that. Like
yes,
I thrive
it'd
on
be
stranger
fantastic. I would love to see both of them. They're amazing.
Yeah.
But
So
if we
if you
want to
drink, we'd
do
love to
some
have a
off,
drink, and if you don't, we'd love to meet for coffee.
Yeah. Yes. But to maybe sometimes find like those rare gems that only the locals know about that
Yes.
It's not the Eiffel Tower, it's not the Louvre, it's not the this, it's this small maybe cafe that you just go have lunch at that is like stellar. It may be a different art museum that is not like the Louvre, but it's local artists,
Yep.
up and coming artists. Like this is kind of like the whole like what I loved most about Nashville was going listening to the up and coming people or the people who were trying to break into the industry because it's like so much talent in there and tickets to get in were like $13 versus 112 to go see T Swift, you know?
Yep. Nope. 100%.
Okay. I'm on it.
We in the past have just used the gay hookup apps.
Yes. Yes.
And we get on, we're like, hey, not gonna hook up, but we would love to meet you for a beer so you can tell us all about gay in this place. I think it was Gay Cologne and Gay Reykjavik. Are both places that we paid for someone's beer so that they could give us the lowdown on the gay city.
Yes, and actually, my Paris connection is gay, so like you guys can all join in that. Yeah,
needs clubs.
He's fantastic. He's fantastic. So I'm actually really excited about this to be like, guess what? We're gonna meet in person. Fantastic. Okay, so turning 50, I'm excited about this, and that means when you turn 50, I will be turning 46.
How old?
46.
How old? I just wanted to sink in.
I'm still whispering it. 46.
Like it's cancer.
It's a tumor. I'm actually getting better at the age thing, you know, because sometimes it's fun just to throw your age around. Like I did it the other day at work. I'm like, I'm 44. I'm too old for this shit. Okay. It worked well in that instance.
Okay. Is it a tumor? I'm gonna hijack us and because I can't believe you put this down for a podcast discussion, but I'm dying to know, is it herpes?
Is it herpes? Okay. Well, you know that I always catastrophize everything. You know, if I have something small that happens, like when I started having the low back pain, I'm like, it's a tumor on my spine. Like, I just know that that's what's going on. Okay, so this has happened a couple times in my life. The last time that I can think about was when Dad was in the hospital in May, and I got this like raging cold sore on my lip. And I think you can probably think back to one or two other times that you can probably recollect where I've gotten like a hurting cold sore on my lip.
Okay.
Typically ties into stress. But then the other morning I'm thinking to myself, okay, because you can see it like ish.
Already. Well, then when you print it out, you can see it. Wouldn't have noticed it otherwise.
Okay. You're welcome, YouTube. Is it herpes when you get the one in the corner of your mouth where it's like it was just dry and then you yawned or did
crack?
something?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying you can't get a herpes cold sore in the corner of your mouth, but I know what you're talking about only because I get those. And I do not get any other type. Plus, I've been tested. And so
Because I mean,
that
once
it
you
goes
have herpes, you have it, right? So then I'm like, is
right.
this just like a
Yes.
herpes flare up? But I'm like, I
No.
haven't, I haven't been in a situation for that to happen.
No. Right. No. So if you've been tested and you've tested negative for both 1 and 2,
Hmm.
and um, and then there's been no other chance of exposure, then no, you can't have it. Um,
Okay. So this is literally just a
so,
cracked lip.
but here's when I say there's no other chance of exposure. If you've shared a soda with someone, I mean, I know the version of herpes that everyone is thinking about, and yes, there are certain ways you can get that. But the one I don't know, I honestly don't remember if it's 1 or 2. I just always get tested for both. But the type that are popping up on your lip um, can be spread any contact. So sharing a soda.
Yes.
Sorry, kids. Kissing. That
Yes.
includes
I think even if you
your
like
good.
share the I'm gonna hate that I said this, but this is the first thing that popped in my head. When you're sharing the same nuts from a bowl,
Yeah. I mean, anytime you're
yeah,
sharing the same nuts with anybody,
you're welcome. I just hand
it's that
delivered that.
potential. Yeah, you did.
That's what she
God,
said.
I love sharing nuts. Um, favorite pastime. But so that would be a really hard one to say that there's no chance of exposure, unless of course it's been COVID and you've been, you know,
Yeah.
isolating for years on end by yourself,
Yeah,
which you
no,
know you haven't. So
no. So this is just a recent development. And granted, I have been stressed, which it
yeah,
seems like whenever I get the mouth corner cracks, if I'm under stress, then it turns into like this
sure.
flare.
So more likely with the mouth corner crack thing is probably some weird nervous habit of licking your lips or licking
True that.
the corner of your
So
mouth.
I've been wearing
Uh,
my super sexy night guard at night to prevent me from grinding my teeth, which I
right.
think because it makes your mouth like my lips don't necessarily close all the way
So then
around
if you
it, so that
stretch
I'm
a little bit,
licking
kind of
my
thing, you're
lips.
drying out. You're drying out on the corners, and that's going to be the first place that cracks because it's
Yeah.
already coming to a crack. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Working
that's
with
not the
this.
herps.
Working with this. It's still one of those things you go out in public and you're like, sorry about that. I don't
Uh,
have I don't have herpes.
See, I think there's a stigma around herpes, and I'm
I
like,
think there
yeah,
is
shit
too.
happens.
I think it's the
Shit
same
happens.
like my rosacea. I am not ashamed of my rosacea anymore. I'm like, sorry, people, I have a skin condition.
You're right.
Like
Right? No.
it
And
flares
I
up
mean, with
for
it
no
being one of those
reason.
things, I think people think that, like, I don't know, that if you look up pictures of all of these different, say, like STDs, and they show you like the most atrocious, like stage 4 outbreak where parts are falling off, and they forget to tell you that all of those things can be transmitted when they're pretty much in a latent, you can't see it phase, and
Yep.
and there's this, oh, you must be dirty if no, you just had to have had sex with someone who would have been a latent phase,
Yep.
or you weren't micro inspecting every square millimeter of their parts, because that would be awkward, just letting
That would be
everyone know.
really awkward.
And then shit
Although
happens
I want to
sometimes.
try it at some point, just be like, tea out. I just need to like check all your bits and pieces
You let me know how that goes.
super
That would probably
quick
be a date ender for me. Thank God I'm married.
as I talk about manifesting my partner.
Right?
There's a sign up
Definitely.
sheet on
Right.
wideningyouraperture.com.
feel, feel free to leave your name and number on a three by
Yes.
five.
On a 3x5. And I'll let you know when I'm ready, when I've
Yeah.
manifested you.
Send those three by
Yeah.
five folks.
Okay. So
Oh,
back to yours. So I'm going to go with Steamboat just because I'm super interested, because I know from the past that you do not have very fond feelings
oh,
when
I
it comes
don't.
to
I
Steamboat.
still
You have,
don't. I still
okay.
don't. But my
Thought maybe
mind
that
has
had
changed.
changed. Okay.
No, no, my mind has changed. It might be a nice place to go on a long weekend vacation. The end. That's how much my mind has changed.
Don't live
Um,
there.
No, in fact, being there just really reminded me that I would love to not live there. Also, I here my mind has changed on. I used to think that it was the most horrible place, and I will now say I think it was probably pretty cool, and I just had a bad perspective. Because now is the most horrible place. Not a fan.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
not a
changed a
fan of the
lot.
people. Yeah, not a fan of the people there.
Yeah,
Um, that and that's not just um,
yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for?
Because it's
Um,
not the Dave and Sherry's
that's not made up in my
anymore.
head. That's some real life. Yeah, it's not David Cherries anymore. I feel really bad for the David Cherries because just the experience of like going to a restaurant or going to the grocery store or was like an entirely different trip to the grocery
Yeah,
store. And I was like,
yeah.
oh my God, this is brutal. Is it always this brutal? And I really don't think it was.
No.
Um, and so just the I'll say it, the type of people that are there, I'm like, if this is your jam, that's so awesome for you. It is not my jam.
Yeah.
I would never live there again. But I will say, like, it was not the most horrible experience, which is where I went with it. I've changed my mind. I would go back there for a weekend kind of thing,
Yeah.
and go
To
skiing
ski.
or see
Yeah.
friends or like I could suffer that. Where as if you had asked me a year ago, how about we go to Steamboat to go skiing for the weekend? I'd have been like, how about we go anywhere else on Earth?
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, that was all that
It's
one was.
things in doses, and like honestly too, I mean, when I left, like it was like I hurt when I left because this was like I think probably just before the big shift happened there. And I only knew about the big shift because I still had friends. Of course, Dad and Dave are not relevant sources of like true change because they're like the town's gone to shit. So we just stay on Stagecoach
Right, but they said
Reservoir.
that in 1992.
Yeah, and we just go to Oak Creek to do anything that we need to do because fuck Steamboat. Like we only drive through there when we're on the way to Steamboat Lake because we have to. I mean, it's like they had this
Right.
very skewed perspective. And then I had
Yeah.
friends that worked at the hospital that were in the social life in Steamboat, and they're like, no, it's gone to shit. It's gone to shit. It's all these new people moving in. When Aspen, the same company that owns Aspen, came in and bought Steamboat,
Uh,
it
it's got a very
changed
Aspen feel to
the
it.
it changed the whole feel of it. Like when we grew up there, it was about the ranchers, it was about cowboys, it was about the old
Right.
west. It
Which, when
was
you're a pretty gay boy, sucks.
right.
But,
But there was already this like thread. Like I remember mom being at the pool and somebody being like, are you a true steamboater? So
right.
like the stigma had already started of like, are you in or
Sure.
are you out? We experienced cliques in school of like, you're in or you're out. And if you're out, they're
Right.
going to make you feel really fucking out.
Real out.
Um, and then going back as an adult, it was like, yeah, some of the things were there, but there was really great restaurants. Like I saw some expansion in a way that was really good. It was like, there were some really good restaurants. There were some really good community projects that had come up like is around the Yampa and conservation of the Yampa, not letting things expand past
Right.
in those wetlands.
Certain
And it
point.
was
Yep.
like,
Too late.
okay, like we're this is kind of cool. And then as soon as the company that bought or owned Aspen bought Steamboat, it was just like, I mean, downhill.
Yeah.
Now it's like like businesses that were there for years that got kicked out because they couldn't afford to stay in a town like that.
Yeah.
The
I don't
building
know what
got
the
wrecked and made
scenario
into
was,
a
but the
3-level
cantina's gone.
parking lot. And it's like, well, shit, that was a historic building downtown. And now instead of there being a historic building on Main Street, there's a 3-level
Yeah.
parking lot right next to
Right.
Lion Drug. Well, that's not
Oh yeah, I
cool.
saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cantina's gone.
Canteen is gone. A
I did
lot
not
of,
know that.
yeah. I
So I
mean, the
was trying to find it
steakhouse.
just so we could relive our crazy Colorado, our last epic adventure.
Yes. Our last epic
um,
adventure
we were
during
gonna
the
go relive
floods.
some gastro
Mhm.
experiences there, and I looked it up, and it was permanently closed, and I
And the
was so sad.
cantina was like, that was a staple. That was a restaurant that had been there for years. But then when Rio, which is a downtown Denver restaurant, first came up, and then Rio took a bunch of the business from her. So they're the ones that have the Mambo taxi, where if you drink 3, they make you take a taxi home. You can't drive.
Okay.
So they came up to Steamboat, opened up a franchise up there. They ended up going under, but then Salt and Lime opened up, and they're a great restaurant, but it's not the cantina. It's not the cantina. So it's been this fluctuation. It makes me sad, but I feel the same way. I'm like, I could definitely go for a weekend. I know the good things in town that are not the tourist traps that would make it an even better weekend. But I would also not stay in town, literally to avoid, I'll say it, the douchey people that now have taken over the town.
Yeah,
they're assholes. Sure. They're assholes.
Yeah.
So there's that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll
pick another cod.
The redcoats are coming back. We're done.
So I feel like this is.
Is this fashion advice?
No. Oh, it could have been. I feel really bad because I'm not a history buff, and I may not be like actually saying this correctly, but weren't the redcoats the British?
You did not fact check this before.
No, I never fact checked anything. I'm just like, whoop, the redcoats are coming, because that's what I think this means. Wasn't the redcoats the British?
Yes.
Okay. Thank God I got that right. So I am in love with all British things. I'm very excited about British things. So.
Well, then a fucking trip to London.
Oh, I mean, I'm excited about this. 8 out of 10 cats. Have you watched it yet?
No, you told me about it. I plan on watching it. I'm on like a 15-day straight not adventure. But it is on the list. Okay.
We'll have to readdress that then. The other one that's British that I'm in love with now is Chris Williamson, who here's my thoughts about Chris Williamson. He was 50-50. And I think that's fair. I honestly think that's fair. But he was on Love Island, which is a show that I would never, ever watch. I would never watch, and I still haven't watched it. But I've seen some YouTube interviews with him when he was on Love Island, and I'm like, oh boy. Brainless, beautiful man on a reality show. I mean, it's like the typical thing. Oh, right?
No, way deeper than brainless. I'll go with that. Like, he's definitely touches my cerebral button.
Okay. So then he reinvents himself. He kind of goes through this monk mode when he's still living in England and is like, fuck this shit. Like, this is not what I'm about. He was also like a very wealthy club promoter. Very like, so that was his life, is being the pretty boy, being the model, being on Love Island, promoting clubs. And at some point, something hit him in a sense of like, is this really what my life is going to amount to? So he moves to Austin. He starts a podcast. I know. I seriously wish I would have bought a house in Austin like 10, 15 years ago when I lived in Dallas. I would be rich. And I'd be in the center, the mecca of all of these podcasters. And missed that cue. So he moves to Austin. He reinvents himself, rededicates himself to this new purpose, this new thing. And then he talks about too, how he started the podcast, but then at one point in time, he read Stephen Pressfield's book. This circles back to like that episode I sent you. And I'm like, here's your sign that you need to listen to Stephen Pressfield now. Like, it keeps coming up. But he wrote a book called Turning Pro. And it's when you go from being amateur at something to being pro at something. And it incited Chris Williamson to go full pro on his podcast, where now he does 4K HD episodes with certain guests. He has consistently provided 3 episodes per week, I want to say for 3 years now, without missing a single episode, which as a podcaster, I'm telling you, that's hard to keep up with. That is a demanding ass schedule. Now, I know there's caveats to this. We've talked about them. He has a lot of money. He has all the time in the world. He is a beautiful human being who pretty much when he says, can you do this? Most people are like, Yes, I can, Chris Williamson.
Right, right.
But he's okay, so he's
Walked
British,
in
so
with
he
clout
falls
and
in.
then claimed that the easy way to succeed is to dump yourself into something 24/7.
Yes.
Which is great. Good.
But when I listen to his episodes as a podcaster, because I know sometimes it's hard, especially when you're with a guest who goes off the rails and you're like trying to like rail that back in. But he actually does. There is this wisdom, there is this like intelligence to him
100%.
and his
100%.
questioning and the research that he does behind his guests to
Oh,
prepare for those
impeccable. Yeah.
guests.
No, that's definitely, it definitely earns my respect with how prepared he is and
Yeah.
all of that. I just,
Yeah.
so many, not just Chris Williamson, just so many people providing the helpful tips and tricks to make you a successful entrepreneur, a successful podcaster, a successful anything. Operate from a position of after I sold my soul to the devil and had
That.
gads of money, or another option is after I, and a lot of them will admit it, after I was so incredibly lucky you cannot believe it, and something fell into my lap, then I was able to. And I'm not saying that the other methods aren't, but there aren't near as many roadmaps for how to start with nothing and make something as there
Yes.
is from start with something really big and make it bigger.
Yes. And what kills me about like these guys that are in these positions, and I listen to all of their podcasts. So this is the Rich Rolls, the Tim Ferrisses, the Chris Williamsons, the Lex Friedmans, is you had an audience and you had different means to come up, right? So when you offer the advice of like follow your dream, do the thing that is passionate for
Right.
you, commit to this, turn pro, don't be amateur about it, turn pro. Okay, I didn't have the resources, the connections, the networks, the list could go endlessly long in this. Show me, on the other hand, the person who started with nothing and built themselves up to,
Right.
and it's
Or the person
pretty
that's,
damn
I mean,
rare.
no, and I'll further remind one more and say sometimes lucky is just you had the foresight up front.
Yes.
But now that you're quickly turning 50, I I'll pick on a couple of them just because we were listening to podcasts that we already talked about. I understand that an Ivy League education um, also affords you a certain amount of clout. Like whether you've been successful with it or not at that point, it's still. But I'm not in a position to go back and gain an Ivy League education at the age of 50. I mean, I absolutely could.
Right.
That is not a now statement. That like,
Right. And it's
no,
not a priority.
I absolutely couldn't. I
Yeah.
absolutely couldn't. I have built a life that I'm not willing to sacrifice um, for an Ivy League education. And so, moving forward with the choices I've made in the past, there are very few roadmaps from how to go where you are at,
Yes.
not where you should have been,
Yes.
forward.
Yes. And this, so this, I'm going to pick my own card now because you did it once. Now I can do it. Because this kind of leads into my last one is you're not stupid if you admit that you don't know. But if you won't admit that you don't know, you're stupid.
You're
And
stupid.
this comes into like, there's definitely a work context in this that I'm not going to dive into today. I shared it with you last week where it's like, you don't even know
Right.
what you don't even know.
Right.
But this also relates to the podcast because I've been talking to you for several weeks now about like I think I need to change the podcast format. I think that there's a different way to go about this. I think there's a different way to do this. And when I go and I look at the analytics of the podcast episodes, and I see that the ones that are more conversationally based versus like, here's the step-by-step how to do something, have rankings 3 times higher than the episodes that tell you how to do something.
Right.
Our episodes kill every single episode that I've done this season by 3 or 4 times. And here's a statement. This is an email that I got from a listener. We'll do AMA for sure on the next one, because we have a bunch of questions to answer from listeners. But this was an email that I got from a listener. There are so many podcasts I can listen to when I want to learn the how-to of something. There are not many podcasts where I feel connected to the host and guests simply because they are real, authentic people with real life problems that they are brave in being vulnerable to share them. And she capitalizes and underlines, I can feel that connection. And it makes me feel like they are my friends that I want to check in with and listen to every week. And that is from Audrey in Vancouver.
What up, Audrey?
Audrey, you're a friend. You don't have to put friends in quotations with us. You're a friend. That is so powerful to me. So
no, that's perfect. I guess that's
this is a little bit of an introduction to that. It's like the podcast format's going to be changing
again,
because I didn't know until I knew that was what was landing with listeners, was real conversations about random shit. Not to say that the guests that I've had on that have given how-tos on or how to handle the situation, not to negate the power of those and that they have helped somebody.
Or do they go anywhere?
But
they're there. They'll always be there.
Right. They'll always be there. But I think this podcast is now making a shift into conversation about real life and real experiences. And real people. I think, when I moving forward, when I interview people, they may have an expertise in something that they can offer that expertise. But I want to know this. I want to know, the story behind where they got where they are, or why they did what they did, or
coffee talk.
Yeah. Or like, so you're a financial advisor. Have you ever struggled with money? Let's talk about that.
Have you ever wondered, is it herpes?
Right. Talking to a doctor. Have you ever been like, this is cancer, when it was something that like a little mole that developed on your face? Like, these are the things. And I know one of the episodes too that is in the works is a 4-way group discussion. I have this really weird like girl group that is all
share nuts during our 4-way.
We can share nuts.
Okay.
Proverbial. Yeah. We might actually record in person at some point that will require us to share nuts. But I'm doing a 4-way conversation on Kabbalah because I have these 3 friends who are like super into it. And every time I talk to them, they're like, let me tell you what I learned in Kabbalah. And it's like, let's just get all of us together and talk about Kabbalah.
That's awesome.
So
can't wait for it.
Great introduction to, now I know what I didn't know worked. A/B testing.
Amen. And I think that's
more
probably a good
real
place.
Life.
More real life. And I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Yeah.
To wrap it up. We missed your overbooking note card.
Oh, no, we kind of talked about my overbooking. The moment that I kind of touched on it with another one and said that like consistency turns into overbooking, because that is my consistency. Like, I'm looking forward to more consistency, and then I immediately go and overbook myself. So then there's no consistency. Yes. And then when that wraps up, I'm ready for consistency. But my consistent is I overbooked myself. So here we are, like week 4 of having more consistency.
I think this is funny because how many weeks have I called you and I'm like, I'm doing too much.
Yeah. If I could just get this down to 3 days a week at work, 3 12s, then that'll give me 4 days off to just relax and focus on And then I'm like, I'll take your extra shift. What, you'd like me to pick up Fridays? What, two
Yes, I can
podcasts
record
one week?
4 podcasts in a
100%.
day.
Exactly. I would absolutely love to do that. Oh, by the way, let me fly back to Colorado and clean my dad's house out.
Right.
Um,
Meanwhile, I'm like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sobbing in my bed, eating Ben and Jerry's, being like, I just don't know if I can go on anymore. Hashtag overbooked.
All right, I'll feel better about it as soon as I'm not overbooked. As soon as I find
Right.
some consistency.
Yes.
All right.
There's a great wrap up. Okay.
Okay.
So next episode, I know for sure, I just want to lead into this real conversation around, we're going to talk about loneliness, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are.
Okay. So I don't know if that's going to be the only theme of the podcast, but that's going to be coming soon. Tune in, because I think that this is going to relate to more than you think in your life.
Agreed.
For sure. Okay. Thanks, B. It's been great as always.
It has. All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.